What's up, people? Welcome to Ade and Gman episode 13. Gman has just told me before we pressed record, which is hopefully lucky number 13 for us both, Gman. How are you, brother?
It's going to be mad lucky. It's going to be mad lucky. I'm good. I heard people thought I looked like I was in a prison last week, so I moved into the kitchen. Hopefully, it's a little bit nicer.
Kitchen is nicer.
Yeah, you've
Granted,
got the photos in the background.
Yeah. Exactly. We got some light, and you did look like you had been sort of taken hostage last week. So now it looks like you've been set free, which is good. And we're happy. G-Man is free, people. Hashtag free G-Man. I like the hashtag Ade Oladipo. That's sort of trending at the moment, which is pretty cool. So thank you to everyone that's been asking where Ade is. Ade's right here. He's right here. That's where he is. Not on the broadcast this week. I know a lot of you wanting to know why. I will answer it the best I can in the Q&A, which me and G-Man are going to film a bit later. But look, there's so much to get to, and let's just get straight to it. I feel like this is so old news now, but we haven't discussed it. We've discussed it privately, I think. And look, congratulations to you. If I had a glass of something, a glass of bourbon next to me, I would toast to you. You did say that Ben Whittaker would make this look easy against Liam Cameron, and you were right.
How happy are you that I'm home and you don't have to face me looking smug in person? How happy is that? What can I say? I knew it.
Yeah, it's enough to take you looking smug, like over the camera, let alone sort of face to face. I mean, look, I will say this. I did a video and I said he'll knock him out as well. I wasn't as confident as you. I think I did a video saying so eighth round. I didn't expect it to be. It wasn't one-sided, but ultimately, when a guy knocks you out in the second round, it seems like it.
No, I mean, Liam Cameron started off quite well, actually. I mean, that jab was popping in the first minute. And I was thinking, actually, the first minute, I was thinking, crap, I might have got this like way off, because Liam Cameron looked sharp. His jab was popping. He was landing on Ben Whittaker. And then it was almost like Whittaker just was like, right, no more messing around. And he started landing body shots. He was trying to get the uppercut in because Liam Cameron had the high guard. And sometimes he lands, sometimes he wouldn't. But you could see, you're like, all right, the skill gap we can see it now. And listen, I thought the stoppage was premature, though. I mean, I would have liked to have seen him got a count on that. Like, because he did, I know people were saying the standing count's not there, but the way he sagged into the ropes, you could rule that a knockdown, that the ropes were holding him. And I think Howard Foster made a big mistake stopping that fight when he did. Because it's conclusive for Ben Whittaker. But now there's that whole, but it was premature. You want a conclusive and no buts.
Yeah, especially considering the first fight. You don't want any excuses after the second fight. You want, okay, you were done. And I almost feel like Howard Foster took that moment away from him, because I think he would have stopped Liam Cameron on the ropes there and there, right there and then. He was starting to sit on the shots. He was trying to find angles to land the best shots. And Liam Cameron was kind of just there waiting, I feel like, to get knocked out. And Howard Foster jumped in on such a big fight as well. You got to give them a little bit of time. I understand the narrative of you'd rather one too early than one too late, or stop it too early than stop it too late. But it's a big fight. It's a big fight. Liam Cameron's a big boy. Let it play out. And I think Howard Foster, still clearly suffering from Froch Groves 1, jumped in too early.
I think he did. I was a little bit disappointed that Liam Cameron didn't make more of a fuss of it, because normally when you see a fighter stopped as early as that, like especially when they've not been hurt, Ebenezer Tete on the undercard, he was hurt way worse. And I mean, he was going at the officials. He was going ballistic. Liam Cameron was just kind of like, oh, my stop. Okay, see you later. And that was it. It was just more animation from the team.
Yeah, he kind of just slowly sort of walked round the apron and walked back to his team with no fuss whatsoever. And I'm like, even to be fair, even Grant Smith didn't really like get upset. Normally you're going to get a trainer sort of jump on the apron and kind of give the referee effing and blindings, and no one did it. And I was like, what's going on here? That's why I say, and look, I thought it was premature, but I say it's a fair stoppage because I look for the fighters to react. And if the fighter's not reacting, why am I reacting? Like, why am I getting upset if the fighter's not upset? And I know that's not in Liam Cameron's sort of DNA, but if he's not upset, it is what it is. Ben Whittaker moves on. Who next for Ben?
I'm going to say Dan Aziz. I'm going to say Dan Aziz. And do you know what I seen? And it's a bit like frustrating, not frustrating, but Ben Shalom, I seen it on Everton Boxing's X account, said he'd be back out in September, Ben Whittaker. What? You went 2 rounds. Why waiting 5 months? You can go literally like that. That's what I don't understand. He's holding him now until September, and then they're putting him in a fight with Dan Aziz. No, you could go in June, July. I mean, you've been 2 rounds. Why are you waiting so long?
Yeah, I guess that's the one sort of blot on the boxer mark because they don't have enough shows. I think that's sort of apparent, right? If this was a Matchroom or Queensbury fighter, they're out. I agree. They're out quicker than that. They're out on a big show. And you almost have to build the show around Ben Whittaker now. And I guess in order to do that, you need to get that from Sky. And Sky are not going to give him that money to do something in a couple of months. It's just how it is. They're not going to. So he's probably got to wait. He's probably only given big money to do 4 or 5 big shows a year from Sky.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the problem with Ben. He did one show. What was it? Lauren Price versus Tasha Jonas. That was a big budget show for them. This was another one. They're clearly doing big shows every 3 or 4 months. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, and I think contractually, see, this is where like having one of those like really, really good contracts when you're an up-and-comer can hinder you, because they can't physically get you out on an undercard now because you're going to be basically in high demand. You're warranting these big purses. They can only put you as a headline act. But I think that's going to stun his growth. I mean, like a great performance like that, you're gelling with Andy Lee, and then it's kind of like, it's like, right, now we'll stop for 5 months and get going. It's like, in an ideal world, you'd want him to just go now, like right, 2 rounds, no damage, go again. Next chance.
Yeah, he needs one of these. He needs one of these Riyad season cards. Obviously, with those he can jump on. I think he needs one of those. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does jump on a Riyad season card. I don't know what the next sort of plan or schedule is for Riyad season. We're going to get to some of it, but I don't know what the ones are in Riyadh, other than this Canelo one. I haven't seen anything being announced, so we'll see if he can jump on one of those. On the aftermath, the sort of the non-spitting, and he didn't spit at Grant Smith, but he did go over and scream and shout, and spit came out of his mouth. What did you make of that? Was it just emotion, or does he need to rein that in a bit?
Raw emotion. People react different in the moment, I guess, at the end of the day. And I think Ben Whittaker, he had so much crap come at him, and some of it was maybe warranted with the way he behaved with this phone smashing incident, but people calling him Whittaker, people giving him this, that, and the other, and I didn't even know he was a dad. These 2 daughters who he's been away from. I guess in that moment it all just kind of poured out, and look, he was shouting, spit came out, he did not spit, but as soon as Andy Lee, and you mentioned it, and I've got the utmost respect for Andy Lee as well, as soon as Andy Lee said, "Now calm down," and apologized, there was no issue, straight over to Grant Smith and apologies.
Yeah, Andy Lee's so good at that, man. Like, not only did he tell Ben to make a beeline for Grant Smith, he said, "Ben, make a beeline for Liam Cameron." He took over the interview when I think Andy Scott was saying, "Did you spit?" And Andy was like, "One second, I will deal with this and answer the question for you." He's more than a trainer. And this is why I say people are trying to sign up with him. It isn't just because he's a good trainer, because there are plenty of good trainers out there. He's more than that. He's like a father figure. He's someone that's been there and done it. He speaks so calmly. Honestly, I think he's fantastic. On the undercard, Fraser Clark beat Ebenezer Tete. You mentioned it. Ebenezer wanted to go on, but that fight would have been over in a few more seconds. What does Fraser do now? Like, surely he doesn't sit it out either. Surely he doesn't wait for the winner of Adelaide TKV. Surely he has to get back in there again quickly.
Oh, no, you got to keep him moving quickly. I mean, that was a nothing fight. I mean, it's a real bad look for Dylan White to go 7 rounds with that guy, and Fraser Clark do that. Really bad. Really flipping bad. But listen, he got his confidence back. He needed that. He even said it. Like, you even seen the interviewer say, people doubted you. He needed that. And you could tell there was a weight off his shoulder lifted with that. I know it's not going to happen, but I would be looking at the winner of Dave Allen versus Johnny Fisher, and potentially seeing if you could get that match in Queensbury. If not, get out on an undercard. You don't have to be main event. Get out on an undercard. Get active. Don't wait around for Jamie TKV, David Elia, because they could have a tough fight. They could be not fighting until December. You don't want to be out till then. Get going.
Yeah, again, the problem with Fraser, very much similar to the problem with Ben. It's different with Fraser because he's not a headline act. But again, it's what shows do boxer have coming up? Like, he can jump on shows. I think Callum Simpson might have a show coming up. He can jump on shows and be the undercard guy. So hopefully he can stay a lot busier than Ben Whittaker, because he doesn't need to. Like, I'm guessing he doesn't get the same money as Ben. So for Fraser, it's just a case of stay active, and then let's see what Fraser can do. All right. There is so much more to talk about. I do want to talk about a potential July, not potential, it's going to happen, a July 11/12 card in the 11th, right, in New York, which is very, very interesting, because obviously that's the same weekend as Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. But I do want to get to the main talking point of this video, because it is a Eubank Ben special. So let's get straight to it. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. By the time this comes out, which will be Friday lunchtime, will be a day and a bit away, right? 29 hours or so. I can't do my maths calculation. We're here. We're finally here. 65,000. Level of excitement, 1 to 10. 1 being obviously nothing, 10 being overly excited. Where are you?
8.5.
Ooh,
I would be more excited.
What's holding your 0.5 back?
The fact, and listen, I know Chris Eubank Jr. really should have done the egg incident this week, shouldn't he? Because it's been super tight with security. I want to see what these guys are going to look like when they come face to face, but because those face-offs are the best. And we've seen no face-offs and all that. So I think that just the needle there, that there is obviously needle, but we're not really seeing it in full. I think we'll be seeing it in full, maybe at the weigh-in, maybe this evening at the press conference. That will just bring it over. That'll bring it over, man. I can't wait. We didn't get to this point last time, and now we're at it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. For me, it's like an 8.5 as well. We haven't seen the interaction between the two main guys, right? I mean, the best we got was at the media public workout where they're kind of staring at each other doing the other's workouts. And I'm like, okay, I need to see a bit more. Like, let them go. Let them do a face-off. I don't think there's anything going to happen. I think they both know that if they do, then their fight's off and they both lose out on 10 million pounds or whatever. So I agree. I think we should let them get a bit more closer. And we need to hear from the undercard. The undercard guys need to start selling their own fights as well. Like, we've heard nothing from Chef Clark, nothing from Vidal O'Reilly. Brandon Glanton said a little bit to Chris Billam-Smith, not much from Yard or Arthur. And obviously, you're not going to get anything from Liam Smith and Aaron McKenna. We need to hear a bit more. Honestly, we need more.
We do. And the undercard, like, this is actually a really good undercard. And I think it's crazy, the fact that we haven't even, like, press conferences, you normally see the undercard, not on the first one, not on the second one. And like, if you didn't know any better, you would think like they just chucked the undercard together in a week, because we've only really seen and heard from the undercard fighters this week. It's crazy. And it's such a good undercard. And yeah, the level of kind of excitement for the undercard, even as good as it is, it's not there because it's not marketed. Yeah.
I saw Brandon Glanton in the gym the other day, and he looks like one of those rugged Americans that you just don't want to make eye contact with because they're quite scary. And all of a sudden, like, I've gone from Chef Clark versus Vidal O'Reilly being my fight to watch. I think it's going to be CBS Brandon Glanton. Like, you know what you get with Chris Billam-Smith. Like, he fights one way and he has to go to the well, and it's painful and it's brutal. I think we're going to get that again on Saturday. I just don't know if there's anything in the well. I don't know if there's any water there anymore. I think he might have like used all up, and he's going to have to find something against Glanton, who is coming off a couple of good away victories. And this is his chance. He's looking at this as, wow, this is my opportunity I've been begging for against someone that has been there and done it. Like, does Chris still have the dream of becoming a world champion again? Do you know what I mean? Whereas Brandon has that.
Yeah, I think CBS does, but I think with Brandon, he's chasing that, and he just probably sees CBS as a stopgap on the way to it. I mean, didn't you say, or someone said that he just said, "Don't blink"?
Yeah, he said, "Don't blink." That's all he said to me. Literally, he said about 4 or 5 more words, but it was "Don't blink." I think it was "Don't bleep bleep blink."
All right, so we know what's going to happen, and CBS, listen, that Zurdo fight, he took a lot of punishment. Like, he took a lot of punishment in that Zurdo fight. So this is his first fight back. So we're only going to see the after effect of that on Saturday night. So we could be thinking this is the CBS who fought a Cody, who fought Riyad. I don't know what we're going to get on Saturday night. Man, Zurdo really put a beating on him. Really put a beating on him.
Zurdo's not a big guy. I mean, I know people will say, but he's not. He's not a big cruiserweight like the traditional cruiserweights. Like, he's not a cruiserweight that's going to make a jump to a heavyweight. A lot of these cruiserweights are basically heavyweights, aren't they? Masquerading as cruiserweights. Whereas Zurdo's a super middle, light heavy, now a cruiser. And he put a beating on Chris. So, look, I'm a big fan of Chris. I hope there is another run. But I feel like I'm swaying to Glanton, who might be the fresher of the two. I do. You know what it is? You know what's tricked me or convinced me? Like, every time I see Napa, who manages Brandon Glanton, so Brandon Glanton's manager, he always like, Ade, watch. I'm telling you. And I'm like, he's convinced me that Glanton's going to come out here and do something. And I looked at Brandon Glanton's defeats the other day. I think one's a majority decision, one was a split decision. And it was against 2 home fighters. And I'm like, yeah, you get a split against a home and a majority against a home. If I watch it properly, you probably won those fights. So you could be an unbeaten fighter, dude.
When you say it like that, it does kind of sell it a bit more, because you tend to just look at the losses. You'd be like, he's fighting a guy, with 2 defeats. Oh, God, and he's a comeback opponent. That's easy. But when you're the away fighter, a majority in a split, Oh, and this guy, by what you've said, he is not coming in to lie down. He is coming in with the utmost confidence. He sees
Yeah.
CBS as what? Cannon fodder at this stage. So, man, I think the undercard is catching fire now. Because this was the fight that I was kind of, when it was announced, I was kind of like, all right, we have this. This is just CBS's comeback. But now, the closer we get to it, it's like, oh no, this actually is this might be fight of the night.
100%. Same, dude. I was like that as well. Like when I saw it, I was like, because I didn't know. I have to be honest, I didn't know who Brandon Glanton was.
Oh, neither did I.
So I just saw a name and I was like, okay, that's an opponent for CBS to get back on the horse, so to speak, and then we'll see. As we get closer, as I've seen him up close and personal in the gym, smashing the pads, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy has not come here just to take a paycheck. No. This guy's come here to get a W. All right, go on. Who do you think wins then? Let's get some predictions. Who are you thinking?
Well, I'm tried and tested CBS. Points.
Okay, CBS. Okay, cool. Points. All right, let's do Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna. This is an interesting one. This is kind of a bit like CBS, where Liam Smith's been there and done it. He's 34, 35 now. Aaron McKenna is coming up. Has only had a couple of 10-rounders. He's an 8-round guy, really. He's only just really stepped up into the big boys league. Does Liam Smith still have what it takes, or is Aaron McKenna just too fresh? It's quite similar.
See, that's the problem with this fight is Aaron McKenna, the lack of experience. He's only in his 20s. And like you said, he'd been on Channel 5 for a couple of fights in 8 and 10 rounders.
Yeah.
Liam Smith is a vet. I mean, Liam Smith knocked the... Remember when they
can you imagine how many 12 rounders Liam Smith must have done? Exactly. I'm going to guess and say at least 10. Must be more, but at least 10.
God, and even like Canelo and all that, even when he hasn't gone 10, 12 or anything like that, he still, knows in his head he can do them. Do you remember the last time they stepped someone up when they thought Liam Smith was done? Anthony Fowler. We all know what happened there. Yeah. Take this fight at your peril. He took a beating against Eubank Jr. 2 years ago, and he's been out of the ring since then. If he'd have had that fight against Josh Kelly, would have told us a bit about him. I reckon if Liam Smith has even a fraction of what he had left in that first Eubank fight, he wins. Probably stops Aaron McKenna.
Okay, that's interesting because obviously, look, you're right. He's not had a fight since the second Eubank, and he was injured, or at least that's what we heard as the rumors as to why he didn't fight Josh Kelly. Yeah, I know he had a bad weight cut going into the second Eubank fight, so I just wonder where his body is. I wonder how his body's holding up, and if it is holding up, and he's still 70% of the guy that fought Chris the first time round. I agree. I think he's just too experienced, too good, and could be a bit too much on the night for Aaron McKenna. I'm going Liam Smith, late stoppage or points.
Same. I'm going to go and just say flat out he stops him. I'm not going to go points. I'm going to say he stops him.
Okay, cool. Let's go Chef Clark, Vidal Riley.
Yes. Oh, man. Dude. Do you know what, right? Do you know what? When Chef Clark or when Vidal Riley was getting ready to fight Chamberlain, I was like, that's a good fight. Don't get me wrong. It's a good fight. And then Chamberlain pulls out and then they're like, wait. And they bring this fight out. I'm like, man, we got an upgrade. That is like the upgrade. No disrespect to Isaac Chamberlain, good guy. But Chef Clark, Vidal Riley, man, I was only watching the fight he had over in Carson last year. Chef Clark, man, he cannot be in a boring fight. And he's massive.
Dude, that might be his undoing here. Obviously, look, I wasn't at the fight in Carson, but I was in the fight in Monaco, and and the one in Monaco when he took on that French Mascara, very big, almost looked like a heavyweight coming down, and he just overpowered Chev at times, and Chev got into a bit of a war with him, as he did with the fight prior to that. So Chev gets hit, but most times Chev's power just gets him through those fights. Chev's going to get hit on Saturday. Vidal Riley's not as powerful as those guys, but he's quite silky and clean with his punches. I have no idea how this fight plays out. I love both of the guys. I know both of them personally. This is an incredible matchup. But the problem for Chev is if he loses this, it's a long way back. It's a long way back.
He's in his mid-30s now. And look, for as a person, that's not a bad age, right? But for a boxer, only really starting to make the jumps now. I mean, the slightest little hiccup and you're like, that's probably it. Like, you don't have the time on your side to do a big rebuild. I think that's why they're jumping into this fight so soon. So for Chef Clark, and that makes him more dangerous, I think, because for Chef Clark, it's like, listen, I'm putting it all on the line here. I'm coming in to win. This is my career. So, man, I would not want to be Vidal Riley, because Vidal Riley, when I have seen him, he's looked, just to me, okay. Like that Michael Lawal fight was awful. He just looked awful in that fight. I mean, he's in there with a negative guy, I know, but again, it's one of those points where it's just like, okay, where's this big, amazing talent we hear so much about? I'm fancying Chef Clark on Saturday. I think it's going to be epic. He's going to get hit though. That's the only thing.
He's going to, but he has the experience now of bigger fights, if you like. It's not even just that one. Even like the Ellis Zorro, again, there's been must-win fights, and he stopped Ellis Zorro as well. He's done no social media. You can see that he's grown out his beard, and he is fully locked in.
Proper
and he's locked in because this is a guy that I've spoken to Chef a few times. He wants to be in the world title mix. That means you can't lose a British title. You can't lose in the British title scene if you want to be in a world title mix. You can if you're in your mid-20s, as you say. In your mid-30s, I think it's 33, 34, you can't. And you can't lose back-to-back nowadays in boxing either. So, backs against the wall, I'm going Chef Clark to eke this out just.
I'm going Chef Clark to win it I'm going to go split. I'd say Riley will have his moments, and they might just flatter to deceive. And I reckon it's going to be split, but I'm going with Chef Clark too. He's been up at European level. Vidal Riley's not even fought at domestic level. Like Michaela Wall is English level. So it's a big jump.
Yeah, and I don't know if Vidal carries that. If he doesn't, Chev's going to steam through those punches and just like literally. Chev unfortunately has become one of those guys to land one, he takes one. But most times the one that he's landing is bigger than the one that he's taking. So he's been okay with it. All right. I think this is co-main event. Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur, the fight that nobody asked for, but it is here, number 3. It's one apiece, right? So I guess, it's one apiece. How do you see this one playing out? Because look, I know you are the biggest Anthony Yarde critic on planet Earth.
What makes you say that? What makes
because every video you put out about Yarde, it's like Yarde, you have to do it now. You have to. No more second chances.
So you've seen my most recent video where I said Anthony Yarde.
I've seen your most recent video. Okay. I've seen the if you haven't seen it, guys, go and watch it after this. He really does. But no, look, you're right. I mean, again, Anthony Yarde's no spring chicken either. He looks young.
No, he's mid.
But he's no spring chicken. He has to win this because the carrot being dangled in front of him is Callum Smith. I know this for a fact. Joshua Buatsi or David Benavidez. That's what's in front of him if he gets past Lyndon Arthur.
Well, I don't know if it's a carrot being dangled in front if you're saying Dave Benavidez next. I mean, I wouldn't fancy Anthony Yarde.
No, but he's not in any way, shape, or form fearful of those guys. I mean, you don't go to Russia to fight Kovalev or fight Beterbiev if you are somehow intimidated by super middleweight coming up.
No, that's a very, very good point. And at the end of the day, when he fought Kovalev in Russia, he literally fought nobody. I went into the Lions Den to fight a great champion.
Yeah.
Out of those 3 fights, the one I would love to see is the Buatsi fight. I'd love it, but it's lost a bit of steam. Callum Smith every day. Could you imagine? The styles would blend so well. And Callum Smith had loads left still. I questioned it. After he fought Beterbiev, I was kind of like, oh, does he really? He still has desire. He had desire fighting Beterbiev, but how much now? Man, he's loads of desire left.
Yeah, that would be an incredible fight. And Paul Smith doesn't like Tunde either. Like Paul Smith's been goading Tunde and he's pad work for years. I do a little bit. So he doesn't like. So that would be an incredible match. I still though would love to see Buatsi versus Yarde just because again we waited for it for years. And I know Buatsi's coming off a defeat, but that was the best fight of the night. That was literally that could be fights of the year. That fight was incredible. So I don't think Buatsi's stock should go down that much. All right, go on. Who are you picking in this one and how?
I reckon it might go a bit longer than the second fight. I think that one went a couple of rounds. It'll go a bit longer.
I think that went 4. I think it went 4 or 5.
You're right. It was about 4 or 5. I'm going to say 7-8 rounds. Anthony Yarde stoppage.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with that. I think Yarde needs to get a stoppage. This isn't disrespecting Lyndon Arthur. I think he's a good fighter, but Yarde is a level above. And if Yarde beat this guy a couple of years ago, or 4 years ago, I think it was, I think this Yarde should be able to do exactly the same thing. All right, main event time. I'm hearing it could be an 18 by 18 foot ring, which could favor Conor. I don't know how to look at that. Before we get into how it plays out, straight off the top, who's winning?
Eubank. And I'm disappointed. I seen your video. I've changed my mind. I thought I convinced you last week. I thought I convinced you last week. It's Chris
Dude, I'm
Eubank
probably going to do another video tomorrow saying I've changed my mind again.
There you go. So I am going with, and I will say this, I'll put it down. Chris Eubank Jr. is winning this fight.
Okay.
He's winning this fight.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
You sound very convinced.
I am convinced Chris Eubank Jr. is going to win this fight. He's probably going to win it on points. I wouldn't rule him out stopping Conor Benn, but I think Chris Eubank Jr. to win this fight. And people say they act like the 18, if the ring is smaller, that's better. Listen, Chris Eubank Jr. has never been an out-and-out boxer. He actually kind of likes it when fighters come at him. So when people are saying, oh, that's a smaller ring, he's nowhere to run. He's not really a runner, Chris Eubank Jr. He does like it when you come at him. He likes fighting off the back foot. So if anything, that might actually favor him.
Yeah, and look, it's funny because there's been this weird talk, and I guess I've jumped on the bandwagon, and I'm wrong. I'm jumping off now, guys. I'm jumping off about power here. And I'm telling you now, Chris Eubank Jr. can crack. Yes, he can crack. I mean, the way in which he hurt Kamil Zeramata, he loves those uppercuts. He likes to dig to the body. Not really a straight puncher, more hooks and uppercuts. The way in which he kind of folded Liam Smith as well. He's got the higher knockout ratio of the two. He's knocking out people that are a lot bigger than Conor Benn. I favor him in the power department. Sometimes, though, he just starts a bit slow. Like he sometimes takes a while to get into it. And I'm thinking those rounds where he starts slow, guarantee you Conor's not starting slow. Like Conor's going to come out like a fucking freight train.
Yeah, he's going to be charging that Chris Eubank Jr. 110 mile an hour. He is going to be moving his head like it's on a pendulum. The only thing is, though, that burns a lot of energy. And we saw in Conor Benn, especially his last fight, started so quick. He was looking phenomenal against Peter Dobson, who was slow as anything. And once the fight progressed, you could see the legs were slowing down. And it brought Dobson back in. That's Peter Dobson. Chris Eubank Jr., just on the power department, right? Canelo, it took him 3 rounds and he hit Yildirim with everything. Eubank Jr. had him nearly out cold.
Yeah, that was probably the best version of Chris, because that was a fight away from home as well, and that was a and the way he looked over Yildirim when Yildirim's body was on the camera, just kind of stare, was fantastic. Honestly, it's fantastic. That though, I was at 168. I'm convinced that was at 168 because that was in that World Boxing Super Series tournament. That was about 7 or 8 years ago. How do you go down in weight? This is my concern. Like, let's be honest. If that was at 168, and I'm like, that was the best Chris. Power, speed, everything. Punch resistance was good because she's a bit bigger. How do you now, nearly a decade later, come down to 160 and have a rehydration cap on you? That's why I think that's why I'm leaning Conor sometimes, because of that. Like, I'm a bit worried about the 160 thing with him, and then being told, okay, you can only weigh 170 in the morning of the fight. That's bad. That's not a good look.
It's not a good look. It's if you think about it, we have a good idea of what that looks like. Let's look at Boots Ennis. His last 2 performances, he had that 10-pound rehydration cap. He looked pretty bad. You take that away, he looked amazing. So nevertheless, he still won. He still won those fights, but he didn't flatter. He didn't like make us think, oh wow. Whereas you take that away, look how good he looked, and there is that worry. I think it'll play a factor, but I don't think it's going to play as much of a factor as people think. It's just me. What
about the age? We always hear that it's a young man's game, right? We've seen that in recent big fights. Daniel Dubois, AJ, right? Young man's game. 35 is Chris Eubank Jr. I think Conor's 26 or 27. So there is an age gap there. Does that play a factor in this at all?
It does, but I think that the skill gap between the two is big enough that Chris Eubank Jr. can get around it. I think he is the more... Conor Benn, I think at this moment in time, is probably the more athletic of the two because he's younger. And he is, even though he's put on a lot of weight, he is the smaller of the two. So he's going to have that natural speed about him. But I think that Chris Eubank Jr. has the more ability, so to speak. I know he's never been known for his ability, but I think he can adapt a little bit better than Conor Benn. I think with Conor Benn, we've seen it in certain fights he's had when the guy is a bit negative, like against Peter Dobson. He really only knows one gear, which is move your head, move forward, and attack. Once someone's kind of able to read those attacks, he doesn't really have a plan B. It's like, oh crap, this isn't working. What do I do? Just do what you were doing before. Yeah,
and I do wonder about the big fight experience for Conor as well. Like he's not been in nothing even remotely close to this. And although Chris hasn't had that epic, enormous, big Vegas fight, he's been in big fights. George Groves, World Boxing Super Series
Co-op
semi-final was a
arena,
massive fight, right? Massive fight, that one. As you just mentioned, Abner Yildirim away from home at the time was a very big fight as well. So he's been in big fights where Conor, I mean, what's his biggest fight? Is it Van Heerden? Is that bigger than Algeria? I'm trying to think what the biggest fight was.
I'm trying to think of the biggest card he was on. He fought in a couple of AJ's undercards, but that was a probably half-empty arena. So you can't really say like that's... I can't think of it. I would say the biggest fight in terms of Conor Benn, not in terms of name, but where he had the most pressure, was probably the rematch with Payne, because he had pressure on him in that fight. Other than that, I can't really think of, because he did a few, like, this is going to be new for him as well. Like, he fought in 100% in Vegas, but in a tiny, you were there, a tiny little arena in Vegas.
Oh, dude, crazy. 2,000 in there. 2,000 in there, if that was in there. So, this is...
man. It's different.
Dude, he'll walk out to 60. And he's going to walk out, and I think, and I stand corrected on the night if it doesn't take place, I think he might get booed.
So do I. I think so.
I think Chris Eubank Jr. is the people's favorite here. So not only are you walking out to 65,000, something you've never even remotely done before, you're walking out and they might boo you. It's one thing walking out where you're the home fighter and you're getting cheered. There, you might get sort of, they kind of just lift you up to another level. If you're walking out and you're getting booed and the person fighting you is getting cheered, that might have its effect on you as well.
Well, we've seen it with Daniel Dubois. He got booed at Wembley, but he had that just look of,
oh, dude, yeah.
He just looked that. He looks scary. Conor Benn doesn't come across like that. Conor Benn comes across as someone who he probably would take that on board. He's like his dad, Nigel. He wears his heart on his sleeve, so to speak. I don't know if he gets booed by 60,000. I mean, that could have an effect on him, and I think it would. Whereas I think if it was Chris Eubank Jr., if he was cheered or booed, he wouldn't care.
Yeah. Okay. So just to be clear, you're going Chris Eubank Jr. to win on points. Go on, give me like what?
I was going to say
116, 112. What?
I'm going to go 117, 111, 116, 112.
Okay,
so we're looking at reasonably clear. I don't think there's going to be any disputing the result. I think Conor Benn's going to win rounds, but it's not going to be one of these fights where you're going to say, could have went either way. You can give it to Conor Benn. No, I'm going to say it'll have competitive moments in it, and Ben will have his moments. But by the end, you're like, it's a Eubank win. It's a bit like Fury Usyk, the second fight, where you're like, Fury had his moments, but it was an Usyk win.
I'm thinking that Eubank might need to get up off his backside in this fight. I just feel like early he's gonna have to come through just 2.5 years of frustration, 2.5 years of just waiting to get to this guy, and he's gonna have to weather a storm. Honestly, dude, I think a fucking tornado. So he might have a bit of a problem, but I think he will weather it. I think he's got a fantastic chin. I'm not having all of a sudden his chinny nonsense. He's got one of the best chins in boxing. I think honestly that you could hit that guy with a sledgehammer, and you're gonna find that the sledgehammer bounces back. I'm going Eubank to win it tight though. I think I'm going tightly. I'm going like 115, 113. I think it's gonna be tight. I honestly think Conor wins the first 4 or 5 maybe. Eubank wins the next slot, and then the championship rounds. Who's got Eubank something left in the gas? Who's got the most experience? And that's when Eubank comes in.
Well, if you think about it this as well, Conor Benn, something people aren't talking about is that he's had well over a year out of the ring, and this is the best opponent he's ever faced. And the last real kind of guy who really properly, I think, came to win was maybe Chris Algieri, and that was a long time ago. So we have to ask, how ready is Conor Benn in terms of his career? Because it's been really derailed over the last 3-4 years. It really has. Yeah. So this is a big fight against a big name at a different weight. Yeah. And the experience factor, I think it's going to tell massively on fight night, especially if we go late in this fight. He's used to, if he is going 12 rounds, he's going 12 against flat-footed plotters like Peter Dobson. That's not
no, you're right. He's going 12 against older people as well. Or at least that's what he's been fighting of recent. And you're right. He's been out of the ring by the time this fight rolls around 15 months. 15 months. He's not fought in the UK for 2.5 years. Is it 3 years? Wow.
April 22. April 22 was the last time Ben fought in the UK. That's crazy.
Crazy. That's actually insane. That's actually insane. But
I actually can't believe that.
You can't blame them. Both of them are making huge amounts of money. This isn't now. The first fight was definitely built on their dads. That was all it was built on. All of a sudden, it isn't really that anymore. It is now Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, plus there's Nigel and there's Chris in the background. But this is now a bit more about the two sons. And I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think anyone's going to walk out of the stadium come 11:30 p.m. saying, it was rubbish, I wasted my money. I actually think this is going to be a very entertaining and competitive fight.
When I look at them both on paper, I think those styles will blend together really well. So I think that we're not going to be having a 12 rounder where it's like, oh, we're looking forward to it, but it was a bit dull. No, we're going to have maybe a 12 rounder where it's like, I want to see that again. I want to go back and rewatch that fight. It was so fun.
Okay, that's my next question, because if it is, one of your scorecards was 117, 111, potentially, right? If it is that, there is a rematch clause. That's sort of been well spoken about. Is it worth doing that then? If it's because 117, 111 is quite clear. That's actually quite a swing. Is it worth doing it then if, Chris is winning 9 rounds to 3? What's the point in seeing it again then?
That's a good point. That is a good point. I think Eddie would probably want to do it again just to run it back. And I think possibly, there's a rehydration clause for both guys there. How do we not know Conor Benn, with all the muscle he's packed on, could have said, look, I put the weight on wrong. The rehydration clause actually affected me a lot more than I thought it would. So in a way, I know Conor Benn is the guy moving up, but you've both got actual excuse there with the rehydration clause. Because if you pack on too much weight, you could just say, well, look at me before and after. Look how much weight I put on. It affected me. No rehydration this time.
Yeah.
I think you've got an excuse there for both guys.
Yeah, look, I would like to see it again if it's competitive. If it's competitive, I'd like to see it again. If not, I know Conor's spoken about going down to 147. I don't think he can make 147 ever again. No. You've not made it for 3 years nearly. I don't see how you think you're going to make it now as you're older and bigger and you're getting used to eating and you like the idea of having a bit of a meal. Now, I just don't see how you do it. So I think his landing spot's going to be 154, which I think is tough because there are some really good 154 pounders. If you're Chris, go up to 168 and let's see what you can do. Final couple of fights of your career, make some money and let's see what you can do against some real good names.
Finally win that world title. Because eventually Canelo was going to vacate those belts. Finally win that world title by hook or by crook. For Conor Benn, man, you said go down to 154. That's a scary thought. That division is full of sharks. If he wants to win a world title, he's got to fight the likes of Fundora, potentially, a Ortiz, Israel Madrimov. And these are just contenders. Good luck, man.
Yeah, Bakram. Imagine it. Tim
Zhu. Tim Zhu.
Do you know how big these guys are? I've been around Madrimov. His back is is wide like a bodybuilder. His legs are so thick. These guys are literally 175ers coming down. They're enormous. Literally. Yeah, and they can punch and move. I even asked Eddie this. I said, okay, look, on the Ariel show I said, what's the plan? Because Conor's a superstar, right? If he wins this, he's a superstar. What do you do? What's the 4-year plan for Conor? Because I'm not joking. I'd rather stay at 160 because 154 is just frightening. I'd rather say, fuck that. Let's just stay at 160. Yeah. Let me stay at 160 and give me Erislandy Lara.
Old Erislandy Lara. Like I'll take that. I can take that. An old Erislandy Lara, someone like that. Yeah, no problem. Hell no, do I want to fight? Do I want to fight Sebastian Fundora or, Israel Madrimov? Hell no. Even Ismail Davis. That's a tough fight.
Yeah, honestly. Even I'm not even joking, even Kevin Ajaka. I was watching Kevin on the weekend and I was like, well, you know what? Give Kevin a bit more fights because he's been less busy. He's explosive, he's fast, he's very athletic, and that's British domestic level. So dude, it's very interesting. All right,
154, stay away.
154, stay away. But look, it should be a good night of boxing. Are you doing a live watch along for it?
I will be doing a live watch along, you and me both.
Okay, cool. So I'll be doing it as well. So yeah, look, hop on to whoever you want to hop on to, and let's have some fun with it. All right, that's that. Let's talk about July 12th. Is it 12th or 11th? Am I getting it? No, it's
actually 12th.
That's the 12th of July.
Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano is the Friday, and this potential card is on the Saturday. So we're not hitting him,
cool.
So we're good.
We're not hitting him, which is very good as well. The card that G-Man is referring to is a Ring magazine card, and this one I think is probably one of the best ones. I think this is incredible. Hamza Shirez versus Edgar Balanga. Where the fuck did that come from? Nowhere is the answer. Zepeda versus Shakur is a great one. Alberto Puello versus Sabril Matias is on the card as well. David Morrell is back. It's just honestly, it's it's four fights that are just like dream fights. It's frightening.
Could you imagine you're a Dalton Smith? You think you're going to get the Alberto Puel fight, and then say Matias wins, and you're thinking, "Oh, gonna fight him now."
Yeah,
nice,
dude. That's completely different. That is a completely different prospect. Like Puello could beat Sabril Matias, but you'd rather Puello than Matias.
Oh yeah,
100%.
He's gonna hurt you, even if you win.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you win, you're in a war with that Puerto Rican. So I think that's a great fight. There's this argument and debate about what should be main event. I said there's a debate. There's a debate amongst us fans. It's happening that it is going to be Balanga versus Hamza Shirez, and the world champion in Shakur will be co-main. I don't really like that. I mean, I know what people say about Shakur and his fights, and he's a bit boring, blah, blah, blah. I actually don't think this will be a boring fight, but regardless, main event should be the world championship fight.
Correct. Yeah. No, there's no doubt in my mind it should be. The only time it's acceptable is like the last crescendo when, we've so many world title fights. But if you're a world champion and you're a name, and Shakur Stevenson is a name, and he's in a very good fight, William Zepeda, that should be main event, no questions asked.
Yeah, it's a shame, but look, ultimately they're going to get paid. I don't know if Shakur will care as much as us fans do. He's probably thinking, just pay me. It's a big fight. It's probably the biggest fight of his career. I think it jumps over Oscar Valdez. You're going to have the golden boy factor as well. On the Hamza Shirez versus Edgar Balanga, I mean, the ball's on Hamza Shirez, right? Because let's be honest, you lost against Carlos Adames. You lost. Yep. I think he deep down inside knows he probably lost that fight. He's got a new trainer. He's jumping up in weight. And he's going to America to fight a puncher in Edgar Balanga in his first fight at the new weight class. That's ballsy.
That is beyond ballsy. Like if he'd moved up to 168 pounds and fought just a little easy fight at the start, I wouldn't begrudge him that. Alexander Usyk did that at heavyweight. Loads of fighters do it. You're fighting because listen, Hamza Shirez is used to being the bigger guy, right? Edgar Balanga is freaking massive. How he even comes close to making 168, I will never know. He's massive. He's a big puncher. He's going to have the Puerto Rican fans behind him. I think that Hamza Shirez is the better boxer, but he's in for a rude awakening in there. Like, he is going to be the smaller man by quite a bit.
Yeah, Edgar Balanga as well is very athletic. I agree with you. I think Hamza's the better boxer, technically. But in terms of just being athletic and explosive, which we don't really see from Hamza, that is definitely on the feet of Edgar Balanga. Very explosive. Andy Lee's going to have his work cut out here, because I do think...
It's the first fight with a new trainer.
First fight with a new trainer, dude. Yeah, it's a lot. Honestly, it's a lot to ask for Hamza to go over there and get the victory. I think he could, because I'm not too high on Balanga. I don't think Balanga's what everyone thinks he is. But that's a big jump, that is. Like, again, you're jumping up in weight. You're jumping up in trainer, you're jumping in terms of where you're fighting location, and you're fighting Edgar Balanga, who's one of the top 168 guys. This is
off the back of a bad performance. It's just, it's like that scene in South Park where Randy has the balls in the basket or something like that. He's like, where to next? That is literally how
I have no idea what you're referring to there. I've never seen
all right, you've never watched South Park?
I think I've watched it maybe 2 or 3 times in my existence on this earth.
I will send you that.
No, it's okay. You don't have to.
I will send it. The people in the comments will know what it is. They'll know what it is.
Okay, cool.
But that is Hamza Shirez. He is just, I tip my hat off to him. And I think he should.
Yeah, no, it's good. And again, fantastic card. July 12th. I am hearing that Usyk Dubois will be moved to July 19th.
Really?
So it'll be the week later. So there's no clash. Yeah, there is no, and it wouldn't really be a clash because of time difference. I almost feel like they want to give Usyk Dubois a run. So that, that the kind of the weekly Riyad season, grand arrival, all that kind of stuff. So in order for everyone to kind of have their own grand arrivals, press conference, you need a week's apart. So I'm hearing on the grapevine, people, you heard it here first, that July 19th could be the date for Usyk Dubois. No doubt Gman is going to go after this and make a video and say July 19th, Usyk Dubois, it is going to happen.
You think the worst of me. You really do.
No. I actually think the best of you, because that's probably what I would do. On the Usyk Dubois thing, today it was confirmed that Chisora has been put into the mandatory situation. We was wondering. I think we did a video last week saying what's going on with Chisora and the IBF. All of a sudden, Dubois has been ordered to face Chisora, which isn't going to happen. I'm telling people that ain't happening.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'd be surprised if Chisora even goes ahead with that. I wouldn't even be shocked if he foregoes that mandatory just to go and fight someone like a Dylan White or something like that. It's nice to say, look, I'm mandatory for Dubois. I can, they're ordering me to fight him, but I don't. He has the exemption. He'll get the exemption. And then I think Chisora is just going to say, no, I'm going to fight Dylan White or Francis Ngannou in Africa or something like that. He, as much as he might say, oh, I think I will do it, he's not going to do it. He's never going to go through that fight.
All right, let's wrap on AJ. Obviously, look, heavyweight division's booming. One of the biggest names in the heavyweight division isn't fighting. I did ask Eddie the other day on the Ariel and Ade show. I was like, is it AJ? Sorry, is it Tyson Fury or bust for AJ? He wasn't too happy with the question, but he was like, no. Like AJ's got 2 or 3 more fights left. They want it to be Tyson Fury, but if it isn't, AJ's going to come back. He's back now from Nigeria, and he's going to go into a fight camp that his body's fully healed. So I do think we might get an AJ announcement for a fight, maybe like September or August. I think AJ might come out again.
2 or 3 more fights, though. Do you really think so? I'm surprised, man. 2 or 3 more fights. I think that, but if we get an announcement, that obviously says to me that, do you know what? I'm glad. I don't want them just holding out for Tyson Fury. Because if AJ still feels like he has something left in the tank, there's no use sitting around waiting for a fight that may never happen. And then eventually, it's not even that, you just age yourself out. I think he needs to, if he knows it's not going to happen, just get a move on. If you're fighting whoever, like AJ is still a name, he's still a draw. He can have a fight against a Dylan White, someone kind of lower down, and then he can get into a big fight. I think that Parker is potentially still there. We don't know what's going on with him because Usyk Dubois. So there's a fight there with Joseph Parker. There's fights there against some of the contenders as well. I wouldn't really put him with Caballel, but Cody, if he beats F.A. Jagba, there's a massive fight. If you could get a date in Africa, could you imagine Cody versus AJ in the Congo or Nigeria?
Yeah. One fight he did say, and I didn't push him on it at all, but he did say if Dubois beats Usyk, then AJ could fight Dubois for undisputed. That's what he said.
Wow. Because he still has that rematch, doesn't he? He still has that rematch.
And Dubois would pick AJ over everyone else because of the money. So look, I mean, there's a lot of ifs and buts there, but I think one thing that is clear out of that conversation is that AJ is going to have a fight this year. I think that was clear. And whether that's Tyson Fury or not, we'll see AJ back in the ring. What I do want to end on very quickly, actually, because we haven't touched on it. And we normally do look back on the fights of the weekend. We didn't really talk about Dalton Smith. Obviously you had a fight. We didn't at all, right? You had that fight against the most negative opponent I've seen in years, in that Mathieu Germain from Canada, who got hurt in the second round and then decided he didn't want to engage or fight. Should some of the blame, though, be lied towards Dalton Smith? Like, I was thinking, as I was watching that, I was thinking, what would Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Sabril Matias, Liam Parrow, what would they do to that Mathieu Germain?
Well, I personally, I think with someone like a Teofimo Lopez, he would have done the exact same as Dalton Smith. I'm not giving Dalton Smith any criticism for that, because it is so, when a fighter gets that into his mind, I just want to survive. It is so difficult to look good sometimes. And the fact is, he's still able to drop him a bunch more times. So I think that Dalton Smith, he was in there. That guy was it was painful how negative he was. But Dalton Smith still looked good. I think he still looked good. And against someone like that, and you know what, you say the second round, even from the first round, I could see, oh my God, he's awkward as hell. You could see that with him. His jab was all right. He was moving. He looked awkward. I was like, oh, he's going to be one of them. He's going to be a nightmare to look good against. And I thought Dalton Smith did look good against him.
You know what's crazy? Adam Azim is fighting someone that guy beat. And that's kind of like,
God.
I'm like, God, that like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Jesus.
But I did want to bet
the deal with Adam Azim?
I don't know. I think they're taking time. I actually think behind the scenes, it's actually family. Maybe his dad. I think his dad's I think his dad's very close to him. And I think they're taking the time. They look at him as being very, very young. And what's the rush? I saw that's what I think. And I think that's not a bad, it's not the worst move. Like, if you're young, still learn. 140-pound division, as we know, is full of killers. Why roll the dice when you don't need to yet? When you can maybe wait a couple of years just to kind of get that sort of man experience in a ring, if you like,
and build him into a superstar. Because there's no point taking a risk on someone and them not. Like, they could take a risk, put him in a world title fight. He could win or lose, but he's still not going to sell any more tickets.
There you go. Exactly. Are you back next week, or have you moved to Ireland now? What's going on?
No, I'm 50. I might be back next week. If I'm not back, it'll definitely be the week after. So hopefully I'm just pricing flights next week. And if I can get a decent deal on one, I'll be back next week. If not, it'd be the following week. I will be back.
Cool. There you
in
go.
person.
So we'll be back. We'll be back guaranteed in a couple of weeks as we normally do it.
Annoying you in person. It's not the same
God.
annoying you it's not the same annoying you like this or looking smug when I get a prediction right.
Yeah, one prediction right out of 20. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. There you go. But no, look, as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to our main man, G-Man. The link to his channel is in the description. Give it a go, give it a look, give it a watch. So much good content. And we will see you next week as we look back on the Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight. Peace.
Peace and love.